Okay, this is the daily money-making setups that occurred on the S&P E-mini uh, futures contract using the 1500 tick bar chart and using the processtrading.com right edge trading system. So I hope everybody had a great Memorial Day weekend, and I hope your trading went well on the first day back. And also, I hope that your system helps you identify good opportunities like the processtrading.com right edge system does. Now, what happens in the process.com system is that it will pick out the high probability trades, and then it will give you the trade management that you have to implement to be successful with it. And there's three types of trades you can do. You can do trend trading, which involves using the upper half of the screen, and you can do discretionary and contrarian trading that uses the discretionary indicators on the lower half of the screen. So, not unusually, all the places where processtrading.com indicated there was a valid trade to take, all were successful and all for multiple points. This one was to the upside, and you were allowed to take it because of the trade management technique of the process trading VWAP line being yellow. You can take it, trade to the upside as long as there is a timing alert dot, that's these blue dots, below the price bar. And then you apply the trade management technique of where you place your trade 2 points above the high for your entry, and then you set your exit then for an appropriate profit as you're looking at the indicators below. So here we see the indicators here. One of the main indicators is where momentum crosses the sentiment line on the sentiment oscillator here, which is a clear sign you saw strength coming in here with demand of the green bars and then weakness coming in. So you're going to get out right at this point. So you get in here, and the way the process trading works, especially on the trend trades, is that it has you buying into strength and selling into weakness. So this is the strength that it forecasted, that it saw coming, and it had you buying into that. And the way the trend trades work is that you set your entry points two points away from the higher the low, depending if you're going long or short. And in these cases, these four cases, you're going short, so you're going to set your entry 2 points below the low of the bar that's associated with the timing alert dots. And the reason you could take these is because the VWAP was gray. The process trading VWAP was gray. And the gray VWAP associated with the trend trading dot, trend alert dot, that is above the price bar, then you can take that to the short side using the correct trade management technique, and you can see how all of these would have been successful for multiple points, and you can validate them down here through the Intergy, which stands for the internal energy. You can see right here how effective that is, where it dropped off. Demand comes in here, it drops off like dropping off a ledge here, and then supply starts coming in, so that the gray bars are weakness coming in. Doesn't matter if it's demand and then weakness or supply and then weakness. And the green bars are demand, basically, and the red bars are supply. Okay, so you could see that right at this point here, demand just dropped off, and not only was it weak, it just reduced to almost zero. And you remember that this Intergy indicator essentially is a proxy for volume. Now, it's not a one-to-one proxy where you're going to see the volume interpreted. No, you're going to see the internal energy that would be established with the volume interpreted. So it's easy for you to read it, where it's very difficult to read volume bars side to side and everything. And then you have the cinnamon oscillator, which has momentum, that's this tricolored line, and the sentiment or conviction line, and you see right at that point there how it cut down through it, as well as the short-term trend oscillator, which had fallen below the pullback line way back here. Way back here, the short-term trend oscillator was telling you that the short-term trend to the downside was fairly strong. And if it did up here, right here, reach to the pullback line, and that's what this line is. You can see it reached to the pullback and then it continued down. It reaches to the pullback and then continues down. Up here, it reached the pullback and went along, so there is congestion here, and it's going to break out one way or another, and then it did break out to the upside, and we knew that was going to happen because of reading the Intergy and the sentiment or the conviction to it. So if you wanted to take a contrarian trade or a discretionary trade, you take it right here, simply because the price had fallen almost to the contrarian line or the contraband down here. So and then you have a small doji right at this point here, and you look to see that the momentum is down below the lower bounds of the oscillator, and now it's cutting up through the lower bounds and cutting up through the sentiment line or the conviction line, which is starting to go the other way, as well as the short-term trend is now turning up and sloping up in a positive direction. So if you were to get in here with a discretionary trade, it would not be a contrarian trade according to processtrading.com, because if it were that, price would have to at least touch the contraband line, and also you need a timing alert dot associated with it. So this is strictly a discretionary trade. Based on what you're seeing here, its proximity to the contraband, and also the reading of the discretionary indicators. And if you're going to take this discretionary trade, you're going to want to follow the rules of the contrarian trade. And that is, once you see this doji, you set your stop a half a point below the low of that doji. And then you would really be taking your trade and analyzing it on the next bar. So when the next bar took out that doji, then you're going to get in immediately. You're going to look at the previous bar, which was a doji, and set your stop a half a point below the low of that doji, and then it would have taken you right up into the next trade, which was a trend trade to the downside. So that's it for today. You can see how nicely and how well that even on a day like today, where you might be asking yourself, I'm not sure how your system works. You might be asking yourself, well, how do I know that, price isn't just going to keep going up? How do I know it's going to go down here? Or how do you know these? Well, you know it through the processtrading.com, because it is a mechanical system. It points those out to you. Now, it is true you can validate them through the indicators, which are non-correlated. So they're giving you information about different data sets in each one, and that is what allows you to take these trend trades. So these occur every day I've never seen a day without at least one trend trade, even when that day is a consolidation type of day. And then on those days, there are plenty of either contrarian trades or discretionary trades that the system will just help you identify the entries and exits very quickly and very accurately. So that's it for today. And we'll have another daily money-making setups to show you where you would have traded the S&P E-mini. And we'll do that tomorrow. And if you want to get these to come to you, just subscribe. And if you want to see how the system it works as a whole, just go over to processtrading.com and check it out. So until next time, I hope your trades are all successful, and we will catch you on the next video.